A chicken walks into a library, looks at the librarian and says, "Book!" Librarian puts a book in its beak. He walks out. Chicken comes back the next day and says, "Book, book!" Librarian puts 2 books in his beak and he walks out. The next day he comes in and he says, "Book, book, book!" Librarian puts 3 books in his beak and he walks out. The librarian says, "I have to find out what the chicken is doing with all of these books." So he walks out of the library, follows the chicken through the town, outside of the town into a swamp. The chicken takes one of the books in his beak, throws it across the swamp. It lands in front of a lily pad. On the lily pad is a frog who looks at the book, looks at the chicken and says, "Read it." Now a different frog walks into a bank looking to borrow some money. He meets a very nice teller named Patty Black and explains his situation. The teller looks at him and says, "Do you have any collateral?" He takes out a little item and he gives it to her, and she does not know what it is, so she turns to her supervisor and says, "Sir, do you know what this is?" And he looks at her and says, "It's a knick-knack, Patty Black, give the frog a loan." "Thank you, I'm here all week." Last joke. A man is walking through the desert and he sees an elderly Jew sitting there, and he says to the man, "Please, sir, I've been wandering in this desert for a very long time. I'm very thirsty. Do you know where any water is?" The elderly Jewish man looks at him and says, "Well, there's an oasis about 100 yards in that direction, but you have to be careful. There's a bacon tree." Man thinks to himself, a bacon tree? This man has been out in the sun way too long, but maybe he's right about the water. I'll go in the direction he pointed. Man returns about 20 minutes later. His mouth is bloody. His clothes are torn. And he says to the old Jewish man, "Why didn't you warn me that there were bandits over there?" The Jewish man takes out his Yiddish-English dictionary, looks it up for a second, and goes, "I'm sorry, it's not a bacon tree. It's a ham bush." Have a great day, everyone.